Good afternoon.
Welcome. Cheers and
Cheers.
happy Thursday. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a few minutes. We'll wait to see if a few more people jump on, and then we'll get going.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever drank coffee before together, have we? It's usually wine. We're usually having virtual cocktails together, Jen.
This is our first virtual coffee, and mine's at the very bottom. I should have refreshed before I got
Right?
here.
Oh,
Hold on. Mine is my number one mom. I'm just trying to show off a little bit.
that's so good. That's so good. I have a crazy background. I'm at my summer place up on the water. So it's like surfboards. Those are red Solo cups. It's like a beach bar in here.
I'm sorry that mine isn't quite as exciting and colorful. I've got some flowers though, which I feel good about.
Very good.
All right. What do you think? Do you think we should get started or give another minute?
I think we should do this.
Let's do it. All right, awesome. Well, first off, thank you, everyone, for attending this. We are super excited to have this conversation with you all today and share some insight into verticalizing, how it kind of came about, our approach to it, and all the good stuff that comes from it. So to get started, we first just wanted to go ahead and introduce ourselves. So I will start. My name is Jen Hammers, and I'm Vice President of Sales and Marketing Delivery over at JumpCrew. I have been with the company for about just a little bit over a year. I said my year anniversary actually, which was wild. It feels like it's been like a joke. I have been in sales and marketing for a long time. I'm going to give away my age a little bit here, but it has been, let's suffice it to say, over 20 years of sales and marketing. My background, I actually started in the healthcare industry in pharmaceutical sales, and then made this crazy transition over to production, which I had never heard of, no one really even knows about, but we produce all these large scale meetings and events, product launches and national sales meetings for primarily the pharmaceutical industry, a little bit of finance, some auto, some different verticals as well. I did that for 12 years, also led sales training there, wore a number of different hats in creative development, and then left and started my own agency, which I led for 5 years. And if you can't tell, I am, although I'm in Nashville now, I am not originally a Southerner. So I was in New York and made this very impulsive move, a little bit, I'll say, to move down to Nashville with my kids. Came down here and decided to plant my roots. I happened to have stumbled upon JumpCrew. I was looking for a little bit of a change because I've been traveling a ton in my career and wanted to just stay put for about a minute and a half. So I reached out to our CEO on LinkedIn, and 3 weeks later, I was working at JumpCrew, and it's been a wild ride ever since. And
I love this New Yorker in the South. Like we could talk for ages just about that. Like I go into a restaurant in the South and I'm like, seriously, could you, like, you can sit down and chat with me, waitress, but would you just put my order in first? Like, come on already. And I'm from the Midwest, not from New York.
Listen, my daughter now gets in the back of the car and she's 6, and she's like, honk your horn, Mom, honk your horn. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, they all try
already.
Yeah. So anyhow, I had a good fortune. Last year we had a really phenomenal, our first kind of digital marketing conference that we held, and that's where Lauren and I began our love fest. Lauren was a speaker there, and we all fell in love with her, not just myself. But she was amazing to listen to. Her insight was really incredible when it comes to sales training, and so insightful. And I know my team benefited from it tremendously. And I personally just love her and adore her spirit and her insights. And we've kind of had a ball together ever since. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and let Lauren tell you a little bit more about herself and her experience.
That's such a nice intro. Thank you. I'm LB. I fell in love with the JumpCrew crew. I was speaking in Nashville with my friends at Ambition and was asked to come over and work with you guys. And I know that you took a flyer on me. You're like, who is this chick? Yeah, but it was an amazing conference. And then, let's fast forward to afterwards. We're drinking beer and throwing axes together. And that was a good time. But the highlight was you and I just happened to be at the beverage station at the same time. And within 6 minutes, we were text friends and we've been BFFs ever since. So we've actually spent like 8 minutes of FaceTime together, but I'll know you forever. Yeah. So I'm just thrilled to jump in and do this. My background isn't as fun and diverse as yours. I also have 20 plus years, but I've been strictly in virtual selling. I started my firm Factor 8 after running inside sales teams and building training departments in corporate America for 10 years. And Factor 8 turned 12 yesterday, my first baby. We had an anniversary too. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, I'll be here sharing a little bit kind of on the training and the skills angle to when we go vertical. That's it. That's all I got. And by the way, I'm at my southern home, and so it looks like a beach bar behind me. I'm trying to block out like on the wall.
You know, the virtual world is wild. We've all like been working in different areas and different things. So it's kind of cool. We get to know everyone a little bit better just by looking at their backgrounds.
Right? So what you'll see here is we spend a lot of time in the water and a decent amount of time drinking. This is what you should get from my background.
Two of my favorite things. This is why we get along so well.
It's okay. It's all good.
So here's how we're going to start things up. I want to just go over a few housekeeping things. We will answer any questions that are written in the questions tab on the side throughout the webinar, and then we're going to leave 15 minutes at the end of this open for Q&A. If you stay to the end, which we hope that you will because we think we're going to be highly engaging, at the end we will provide a download for a guide from both Factor 8 and JumpCrew, and we will be sending out a poll at the end of this webinar as well. Cool. So again, thank you all for joining in. We are super excited, appreciate your time, and we're going to get started. So to kick things off, we first wanted to talk about the benefits to a vertical approach. And I want to
went vertical just recently, right? Like it was a switch in the last few months.
Yeah, this really just happened. It did. It happened the last few months. We were sitting and talking one day, and we had been going through some analysis, and we kind of just ripped the Band-Aid off and said, you know, it's about time. And I think this was a little bit of a long time coming. You know, I've done some research on it, but it more so came as like this kind of gut feeling. And part of it is from my background. So I mentioned, and I mentioned it a little bit purposely, that I come from a pharmaceutical background, because something that was really interesting when I made the transition from pharmaceutical rep to production was that the first people, I was cold calling. And the first people I wanted to call, by the way, I was asking them to spend like $5 million. That's what I had a cold call. I was like 23 years old, and I was like, hey, how about a few million? Let's do this. But the first people I wanted to call were those in the pharmaceutical industry, because I knew that world. I'd sat in the meetings, yep. I understood the language, and there were people that I knew I could connect with. Right? Yep. And that's the best way to sell. So I found the two other sales guys that I was working with, they would try to call into these healthcare companies and they would never get the same traction.
Yeah. Yeah, Jen, we see the same thing. I was sitting with a company in Florida about a year ago, and they were selling into kind of like in the industrial world, if you will, right? But all kinds of different contacts. It's really about the decision maker you're calling, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's looking at his lead list because he was outbound BDR, right? Similar to what you were doing. And he wouldn't sort it. I'm like, how do you decide who to call? And he's like, well, if I'm really honest, right, I just go look for the guys who are the mechanical engineers, because that's what I used to do. So here he sits with 200 leads, and he's only calling like 6 people. Now, be clear, there are mechanical engineers at every one of those companies, but his comfort level was his background. So I get that 100%.
Yeah, and what that allows for is exactly that. It makes it a much more comfortable conversation, right? Like, I just had this conversation with our strategic accounts team. So those are the teams that are calling out to actually bring business into JumpCrew.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of our BDRs kind of lost his way, and he was like, oh, I had a tough month, and I don't know why. And I said, well, how, you know, what's your approach? And he's like, kind of like spray and pray, which is funny enough itself, but that's what he said. And I was like, okay, well, let's take a step back and tell me where you came from. What was your background? And he's like, oh, I worked at Dell. I was totally into tech. And I was like, aha. Okay, so let's start with your comfort level, because you are going to be better at talking about that. It'll help you focus and determine who you're going to call and have a better conversation with. And his last month, no joke, his performance has doubled.
Yeah, it's all about confidence in sales. It all boils down to confidence. So unless you have a super robust industry training program for each of the industries your company serves, right? Even then, it's not going to be like, I'll get there, but I'm not comfortable. I'm not confident. I'm not fluent. And I think we'll see that in a couple minutes of this fun quiz as you're bringing some
Yeah,
people on from your different verticals.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're
How
gonna
many
have a.
different verticals do you serve at JumpCrew? How many different verticals are you specialized in?
So we specialize in automotive, healthcare, finance, technology, and marketing services. And I think before even talking about the benefits, it's more so going back a little bit to the why. You know, why did we even, like, what was the impetus to do that? And I think as we were looking, you know, we're trying to determine, where do we succeed, right? Where do we find the most success with any of our clients? And what we saw was this pattern all of a sudden, that all of the clients that we've done well with are in these particular verticals.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, well, let's take a look at why. Why are we doing so well in these verticals, and who's working on these verticals? And so that was really the impetus to all of this. And we found literally we're in 5 spots. Now, not to say that we can't branch out to more, because we've got to start somewhere, but it certainly shows there's a trend, right? These are typically the kinds of companies that are coming to us as well. So that helps us target better as we're actually going out there and selling to and cold calling, right, our BDRs and AEs.
Well, and I think so many companies go through this exercise too, right? Who's the IDC, right? The ideal customer profile or ideal customer. Did I just make up an acronym and screw it up in the middle of it? We'll just go right past that, okay? But right,
come on.
Right. So who do we sell to? And it's easy to make the mistake of saying anybody, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have a target, step one was, should you have a target? Where are we most successful? And then JumpCrew, you took it a step further by saying, now let's organize our people according to that. Let's organize our accounts according to that. And I've talked to so many people over the years who think it's a good idea, but don't get all the way there, right? Like, we're organized by geo because it's easier, or my field team is, you know, all over the place and I can't really do it, but I think there's a huge win to it. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and I get, you know, there shouldn't be fear around it, because it's not challenging, right? If the writing is on the wall, right? Like, you know, you can see, hey, we play well in these areas. It's not that hard of a transition. You'll see there's more benefits. I've got a couple of roadblocks and challenges that we'll talk about, but they're really few and far between, and they're pretty easy to overcome. You know, you were just talking about what it allowed us to do, and one of those 5 benefits was focus. You know, and JumpCrew as a whole is restructured a couple of times, really in every area, from our sales delivery team to our client success team over to our marketing team, because one of the issues we found kind of overall that was this underlying consistent thread was that we were a jack of all and maybe not a master of one. And so what this allows for, especially for sales managers, right, is I've had a sales manager that's on 5, 6, 7 accounts, you know, and what they do is they're working on a marketing account and an auto account and a finance account. There's not real relevance between them, right? There's no thread that brings them together. But if I have that person focus on 5 financial accounts, right, they get to literally hone their skills in that area so well. It brings so many benefits to our clients. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's the key. Yeah.
The rest benefits. And I don't want to talk too much, because I want to get your insight on what this means from a, you know, a selling skills and training strategy. I'm gonna blaze through these 5 really quickly.
This is the key. This is where it's at. I'll share right before you go into that. I had a client a few years ago who literally had 1 million SKUs, 1 million SKUs. And like many of us in the insider virtual sales world, they were hiring, you know, 10-year-olds. It's not true. They just feel that way to me. Mid-20s, early in their career, right? And like all different types of buyers, all different categories of products, but they were organized by geo because that's what worked well for their legacy field team. And these kids just really struggled. I mean, anybody would struggle, but eventually did finally go by vertical so that these people could focus. I don't have to learn 1 million SKUs now, just 100,000, right?
Right. Well, you know, the thing with geography is there's no commonality there. You're like, hey, not everyone on the West Coast is alike. So like, okay, I mean, all it really does is make sure that you're not stepping on somebody else's toes. That's really all, I mean, at least in my opinion, right?
Yeah, you're avoiding the conflict. But I've never worked in a sales team where we don't have conflict. We're either fighting over deals or accounts or territories, or the field's going to snake it because it's up to a certain threshold, or I'm going to snake it because, oh, but the satellite company is not the same as the parent company and they're in New York and this one's in Nashville. You're always going to have the conflict.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is kind of the one way to really avoid that to a certain extent. Now, you might have you've got some people in the same, but and it's different also when I look at it from a JumpCrew standpoint, right? Because we're outsourced inside sales, so we're representing different companies, and then we have our own sales team where it becomes more of that conflict, right? Because they want all the inbound leads and who's going to get what and who can we go after. So we work not only to verticalize our outsourced inside sales reps, still gets me every time I say that, but we're also verticalizing the other side of our business, which is our strategic account side, because the same really goes for them, right? They're going to find better success based, when I was talking about our BDR, they're going to find that same level of success calling on something from their background and where their experience was.
Yes. Yes. In fact, I'm going to make an analogy on this really quickly. I've grown up in the BPO space or the satellite sales space like you, right? Where you're calling on behalf of. So clients will hire you when they're looking to expand their sales force or test the sales force or keep their costs down or go someplace that has more expertise and results high or test new markets, right? There's a million reasons that people will outsource their sales force. But early in those days, so again, we'll just say 20 plus years ago, you would see clients, you would see the JumpCrews of the world where they would have reps calling for multiple clients or answering for multiple clients. And it was like the big duh factor at the time of maybe we should let them just specialize in this one client, right? Because to answer the phone, hi, welcome to, and to outbound on this campaign and then that campaign. This is the next, it's the next stage of the exact same thing though. Like people listening to this going, oh, that'd be crazy. Can you imagine selling for 6 different companies? Can you imagine selling for 6 different industries?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. Again, just to focus on 6 different companies as a whole is a lot to manage, a lot to figure out in your brain. Different products, different personalities, different people, different prospects. I mean, there's a lot. So imagine, right, it doesn't complicate it twofold. It complicates it by like 1,000-fold when there's no focus on that.
Right, although you still get to do it, right? Like with all the different clients that you represent, you just put on different hats all day long.
Well, this is why you and I talk about
like crazy.
Group coverage. There's a lot of gray from that. That's why I had to go blonde. So
Jen and I send pictures to each other of our gray roots and the spray can that we used to cover them during pandemics.
That first time you ever had in my purse, I was like, oh, look at this, I happen to have it handy.
I was with a client in Vegas right before everything shut down. And like I had to go out in the evening and meet everybody for drinks. And I had just traveled and I was exhausted. So I was like, I'll just do a bold lip, my hair up and, something kind of cool. And because you're in Vegas, right? So I get out my spray can because, put the hair up and you can see the root line. Anyway, it was like, I'm rocking this. I'm feeling okay. I get back and I had like spray paint on my ear.
That's awesome.
Well done. All right, let's talk benefits of verticalization.
Okay, benefits. Okay, so we talked about focus being the first one. Industry knowledge is huge, right? And that's what we're going to get into. I really should have it as my last one because it leads into our acronym game. But I have to kind of attack that first because it is such an advantage when you are calling on someone and you are able to talk the talk. I mean, it's huge. And this is why we even formulated this idea of this acronym game, because, again, another impetus for creating this was that when we had clients and they were talking to us about hiring and they were like, so does this person have experience in healthcare? And we're like, well, they're great at sales. So we'll try, but we just want someone who's really good at sales and is going to be a rock star. And what we found was it was this craving from our clients. They want someone who can speak that language, who can understand their prospects and have lived it a little bit. So we really changed our hiring strategy even around this whole thing, is to hire people that come with more experience in that background. So it's not just a management scenario, but it's a rep scenario, right? So you really get the whole thing, and it's a client request, and it makes a difference. It does. It's so important, and the connections that you are able to form when you are able to speak to someone and know the terms you're using is huge. And we'll get into Lauren's side of this when we talk about sales training, but if you think about the time to gain industry knowledge, it's years.
Oh, I mean,
years. You can do sales training. Look, sales training is ongoing, we know, but right, you look at any company and they're doing selling skills, it ranges from anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, right? So think about the difference in that gap. Would you rather spend 3 years training someone to figure out an industry, or 3 weeks training them on selling skills to improve their skills and tweak it while they have that foundational knowledge of the industry?
Yeah, so I got to talk about this for a second, because so much of my career I spent as a training leader. I would create the training programs and strategies and new hire, et cetera. And we find that there's different components that everybody has to have in an onboarding program. And some of the key ones that are always missing are customer and industry acumen, right? They get product. Everybody nails product. Everybody nails systems, but they don't nail the inside sales skills and the industry acumen. You've got to get to know the customers and the industries. And just like you said, some of it's acronyms, some of it's roles, some of it's challenges, some of it's trends, but all of those are conversation starters or conversation killers. And at the same point, it's a confidence builder or confidence killer. So if you can sidestep that massive learning gap and hire in the comfort, the confidence, and the industry acumen, then we can teach them the selling. We can teach them the business. It's easier. So by the way, I do the same at Factor 8. And all through my career in running sales training, I pull in the salespeople and teach them how to train, right? Because I find you cannot teach a trainer the sales skills. Mm-hmm. They have to come with that confidence, that knowledge, that background, and then I can teach them the skills of training, right? Yep. Just like bring the industry, teach them the skills of selling.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely it. I mean, it's a foundational point that is just, it's such a pivotal point and such a foundational item when you're selling. It just makes a tremendous difference. Now, could you go in with no, with no background and sell? Yes, you can. Your ramp time.
Yeah, people do it every day. The key is, who are they talking to, right? Yeah. What's the background knowledge of who they're talking to? Match that to the background, right?
And I think something that's, I know, hugely important for our clients is time to ramp. We work with a lot of companies that are they're making an investment, right? They're essentially purchasing sales reps, right? So this is a big investment for them. A lot of them have never sold before, so they don't even know what to expect. They're counting on us for all of this strategy, for all to figure out what's working, what doesn't work, and the challenges. So that ramp time, when we don't come in, if you're not hiring someone with product knowledge, your ramp time's gonna be longer. And we want to see ROI sooner rather than later, right? So if I can tell you that, hey, if I have these 4 things that we can ramp within 2 months, or hey, by the way, if we don't, it's gonna take 4 to 6 months, what would you prefer, right?
Exactly. And by the way, you're still beating industry average, right? So many BDRs are taking more like 3 to 6 months to ramp. Yeah. That's your business. You're already beating the average, but anything else you can do to shorten it, even better.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we've got focus, we've got industry knowledge. I think understanding and empathy is the next one. I think, again, it's one thing, like I always loved when I called that I had sat in the shoes, right? I was there and I understood it. So it wasn't just about, hey, can I speak this language? Can I share some terms with you? Yes, but I can understand, right? Especially like when we look at times now, like in COVID, right? People go through different things that are in different, like auto shops. Like if you've been in that and you understand what that's like, you're like, they're closing, right? They know what that's like. If you've come from that before in the past, you know the toll that I can have and where it's affecting your business. So I think it lends itself to our sales reps and our management team having more, being able to connect better. This all leads to connections, right? All of these things lead to just being able to connect better so you can ramp faster and generate more revenue. But that empathy side of it, by being in there, I think is really a huge, huge benefit.
Well, one of the fastest ways to build rapport, if we're honest, is to share something and to commiserate, right? Yes. So I work with and deal with sales leaders all the time. So it's like, it might not be an industry term that got taught, but I know that I can come in and be like, how's the quarter going? Yeah. Right? How's it? Yeah. Listen, I know it's end of month. I'll just take a second. Like, we may not have taught that term, but if you've lived it and you've been in the shoes, you get that. I know that if I want to send an email to sales leaders, it better be less than 4 lines and in bullet points, because they ain't taking the time to read that stuff.
Whereas for sure. This is why we connect so well.
Yeah, exactly. Cut the crap. Get to the point. But that's who we are, right? It works. It's going to be different in healthcare, in finance, in auto, and those are such different personas. I will tell you from experience, like sales leaders love us, and we work great in healthcare, and we work great in distribution and software and tech. Finance, they find me a little too informal.
Look, I'm telling you, the truth. It is so, and finance and healthcare are the most nuanced of any verticals out there, for sure. And again, we even, like we apply AX numbers, we call them. So it's an appropriate experience number to all of our verticals. So when you come in, let's say you're marketing services companies, I can tell you from a trend standpoint, they're typically around like a 5. They're pretty easygoing. They're super collaborative. But you come in, I can tell you 9 out of my 10 finance clients are an AX of a 9, which means they want constant communication. You know, my marketing services guys want to hear from you like once a month. They're like, hey, just give me a report once a month. We're good. Finance wants to be on daily calls. They want weekly reports. They are so appropriate experiences. Are you high touch? Are you low touch? What are your needs? What kind of communication style do you have? You want to be involved in the reporting? Do you not want to be? And you will find it is so vastly different. And that comes to the same thing with being conservative versus being a little more informal, right?
How much information do they want? How often? How are you going to structure your emails? What are you going to talk about on calls? What kind of collateral do you need available to them? So that's so true. Is that one of your benefits, the AX, the touch factor or the formality, or did we just stumble on number 6?
I mean, it's actually not, but it is, you know, again, that has helped us organize in our brains. That was one of the impetus in this, is that who do we see? So if I have someone that's used to contacting their clients, you know, once a month, a manager, and all of a sudden they have a client with, or let's just say I did this, by the way, we all learned from our mistakes because we didn't really have these AX numbers yet. So I gave one of my managers 4 accounts that were all like 9 AX. I did not, and this was someone who probably who could not handle that. But we hadn't had those AX numbers. We didn't put this together in our heads yet about how high touch they were. Now that we know it, man, it is like the easiest thing in the world. And I'm going, all right, I'm still going to try to, I know this kind of person can handle 5 accounts that are on that. I know this kind of can handle this kind of client.
So what I like about this is that we've been focused on verticalization from the sales perspective, but this is next level in the fact that it can also pull into customer success and account management. Not just that, we talked about account management, but customer success on the ops side of the business. You're going to have a different cadence with different types of clients.
And we've matched it, by the way. So we have actually verticalized our client success team as well, so that we can also provide continuity, right? So our same client success manager is working with the same 2 managers always. Because again, there's personalities, there's nuances, there's verticals. So now they know, and they're working together hand in hand on everything.
Okay, mind blown. I hadn't gotten that far yet when we were talking about that. What else is in this AX number? This is like how formal they are, or how is this high maintenance number? Is that what that really is?
It's called an HM. It's a high maintenance number. It totally is.
Yeah, but you know that about your clients, and different industries and different profiles are. It's the same as selling to a CFO versus selling to a CRO. Yeah, I need different weapons when I come into that.
Yeah, and that's, you know, from the sales training perspective, when we look at, you know, it's got to be the same for you, because I look at the level. We have a client now that the level of intricacy that they want in their style of communication is so much more complex than in a different industry. So when you're training to that, I have to imagine it helps to understand what, you know, the training program, right, and how you're directing them, how you're teaching them, because of what their prospect is like.
100%, 100%. And listen, when you're first starting, they're almost always the same skills. Like, because we find that the first goal, whether you're training reps that are brand new in automotive or healthcare or finance, step 1 is you got to get on first base, right? It's Moneyball. You can't get home if you can't get on first. And we want to get that fast ramp and fast confidence. So we focus on key first skills, and I'll talk about those in a second. But then as you go further, okay, am I working on calculating ROI? What level of business acumen do I need to understand? I got to customize the questions. I got to customize the talking points. I got to go as far as customizing my value prop, because a sales leader just wants you to say it and shut up, right? But a finance person is actually listening to you and digging into those details. Let's talk about the communications and the emails then that we're sending afterwards. Each one of those, that's why custom training is the best way to go, no matter what. In today's virtual world, we can still do that. We can take base skills, right? Learn the mechanics, now work on customizing that. Unfortunately, I think way too many companies, especially those employing younger, they do the customization by script. And that is just, you are set up to fail in a billion ways, right? It's
for sure.
Right? Everybody goes in a script. You're not building the rep's confidence. And then, by the way, who is the script to? Because, right, I've never seen somebody have a different script by vertical. We never get that far. And who wrote the script, right? If I'm writing the scripts for finance, y'all are in trouble. Like, that just doesn't work, you know? So instead, we've got to teach them what the goals are of those conversations and build their confidence in those conversations, and then help them customize their messaging and their skill, the application of those skills.
Yeah,
so that's
so right.
First base, second base, third base, all at once.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that we talk about in our sales huddles all the time, is this confidence. And confidence, you're spot on, does not come from scripts. I mean, I look at, the expectation is for us to write scripts. And I always say, hey, listen, like, let the reps write the script. Because if it's not coming from their mouth, it's not going to sound like, they're not going to have that passion. They're not going to have it. They're not going to be successful, right? So we need to do exactly what you said, which is have you come in, right, and really build their skills so they gain that confidence, because that's where that comes from. Confidence comes from knowing what the heck you're doing and believing in yourself.
And understanding the why, right? So again, I'll talk about the first base skills in a second, but here's a quick tip that everybody can take. If you are getting scripts, or your organization is script heavy, and you are kind of with us like, yeah, I'm not loving how it works, translate it, okay? You can do it in a couple hours with your team. Look at the script and cut it down into sections, right? Here's maybe my intro, here's my discovery, right? Pull out your sections, do one at a time. Talk to your reps about the goal. What's the goal of this section? Okay, that's the first key they got to get, right? Because what you're doing is drawing them a map to get there, but they don't know where they're going. So as soon as somebody goes off the designated path, like the Google directions, it's like, crap, I don't know how to get there anymore, because they went off script, they went off mark. So talk about what the goal is. You can start with the script, right? Here's what I would say. Then have them write their own, and then practice it about 50 times. Because that's where you're building the muscle memory, that's where you're building the confidence. And reps can, in those role plays, they learn just as much by playing customer as they do by playing rep. So master and role play that. Well, crap, now they don't have to hire me at all. That's all my training prowess right there.
You're just giving away the farm.
Right? Okay, so I want to tell you the first base skills. This is where you're going to start anybody. If you're, listen, you guys have done an amazing job at JumpCrew by being able to pull somebody in from automotive that also has sales experience. But not all of us are that lucky, right? I've got these verticals. Now I can go get somebody who grew up in a mechanic shop. We didn't know jack about selling and everything else, right? So here's the skills that we start all new sellers with. The first one, voicemails. Why? Because that is 85% of what they're going to get when they first come out on the phones, right? And less than 3% of voicemails actually get returned. But you can triple, quadruple, quintuple that with a better voicemail. So boom, right? You got to get to first base, which is the conversation. So you get more callbacks. That's the fastest, easiest way. Because your reps right now, they aren't even leaving voicemails. And that's just a massive opportunity missed. You're not branding, you're never going to call back. So fix that first. Now you got to fix the intro. That's number 2. The intro, right? If finally get somebody on the phone, don't blow it. And most of the intros suck. It's like a modified sales pitch. They're coming in with their value prop and it just screams sales call. And the guy's like, well, I answered this by accident anyway. Let me get off the phone as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And that leads you to number 3, which is the brush off. So you get somebody on, even if you deliver a decent intro, half the time they're going to try to brush you off. Not the same as an objection, right? They don't know who you are and are giving you a reason they don't have an interest. They're basically just saying, piss off, I don't have time to talk.
Right.
Right?
Yes, and you're making a great excuse.
Yeah, boom. So all 3 of those are about increasing your selling time. It's like, how many people are you getting on first base? Because you cannot sell unless you get the conversation. And we miss that. When we do sales training, primarily, and the stuff that you see in airports that sells books, it's about the conversation. But we got to get there first for them to be able to use all the other training and product and industry stuff that we got. The last two that I recommend is improving their value prop, and then capturing new contacts. So if you work with mechanical engineers, go find the mechanical engineers. Then you get to have that conversation. That's it. I'm done with my 5. Are we ready for the quiz?
Can you, my computer got a little bit funky. Am I on a delay or am I good?
You're good.
Okay, cool. One thing I was going to say, actually, when you were talking about opening, when I tell you how many reps I used to have that would start off with, I was hoping to speak with, and I was like, oh, you're toast. You lead with that, you are toast, and then a little more toast. So that's such, I mean, just that little piece, you're not even selling it, you're just trying to get to someone. They were already failing. So it's so important. That open is so important. It's unbelievable. I'm going to say 2 more things before we get to our acronym game, because we are, time-wise, we're a mess, Lauren. But so here's what I'm going to say. The other 2 areas that are huge benefits for verticalizing is management strategy and identifying trends. Like, one of the greatest things that my managers do and what our clients seek from us is that we're strategic partners. And what a better way to be a strategic partner than to be able to bring in knowledge across the industry. It's not just, hey, this is what I'm seeing from the reps, or this is what I'm seeing here, but hey, you know what? I'm working with some other companies that are in this kind of same sector. And so we're seeing X from here and Y from there. And maybe we can apply this kind of thinking to what you're doing. And it's another value add, right? It's not just you're getting someone, but it's a huge value add.
And at every level. Yeah, right. Even at the rep level, if you can cross-pollinate stories, because everybody's in their own little world, right? And if you're talking to 50 different customers this week, sharing those stories, it's a huge value add.
Yeah,
I love it.
And the part of it is hiring, which I'll talk is both a benefit and a little bit of a challenge as well. But hiring, I can't even begin to tell you what better quality of people I have seen come through my pipeline, because we get a different quality of people applying. When you just see PR or AE and you have no idea what it's for, right? You get everyone and their mother applying for this role. But when you say, I need a financial AE, guess what? I'm getting people with financial backgrounds. So it saves me time too as a leader, right? Because I don't have to interview 17 people before I get to the one person with finance experience. It's a rec for someone with finance. So it's such an incredible benefit to have that out there.
The big companies, right? When you need that, like you just opened up new hiring pools. If you got the training to teach them your product and how to sell, right? Little basic business acumen. Yeah. You can go hire mechanics. You can go hire nurses. You can go, and this is critical, right? Now, listen, there's some talent on sale right now because of the pandemic. But 6 months ago, the conversation I had every single day with inside sales leaders is, I am scraping the bottom of the barrel, man. I can't get the experience. There's a war for talent. There's a talent shortage, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is actually a little bit of a good segue into this acronym game, because our first, I'll share what the acronym game is, but our first panelist for acronyms is Elijah. And when I first met Elijah, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think I have this right. And we were talking about your background and kind of where we can put you on an account. And this is before we verticalized. You know, I said, share a little bit about your background and your experience. And he's like, well, I kind of grew up in this like automotive world. Like I'm not automotive now, but my dad was, was in that world, and he owned a repair shop. And so I was always in there and around that. And guess what? Elijah is like one of my like top reps in the automotive industry, killing it because he came in with that knowledge. And so his selling skills kind of just developed from there, but so good. So Elijah, shout out to you for rocking it across the board. And so our acronym game that we wanted to play was, we're going to have Elijah, we're going to throw up on a slide an acronym, and we are going to ask 2 of our other reps that are in healthcare and finance what they think that acronym means, to see if they know. And then we'll hear what it actually means from Elijah, and he'll talk about how he uses that in his day-to-day.
This is going to be fun. I won't know any of these.
All righty. So here we go. First acronym. All right, so we have Peter on there. Is Logan on there?
Yes, I'm on. Unfortunately, as everyone knows here, it's never easy hopping on a quick Zoom call or webinar or virtual. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to get to a reality here as we kind of deal with all this. But I'm on.
All right, awesome. So I leave it to you and Peter to guess in your minds, in your world, what you think SMS.
Text message, obviously, right? What do you think?
Oof, that's tough. There's no wrong answer here, right? I couldn't even.
So
Yeah, little
TM?
All right, what's the real answer, Elijah? What's an
Something
SMS?
services has to be.
So an SMS is a shop management system. So working with auto repair shops, every shop has their own shop management system. Some just use Excel or write stuff down, but every SMS has keeps their invoices differently, the time of work that they do, sometimes they even pay of the employees. So it's kind of crucial to know this when speaking with repair shops, just to get a feel for how they go their day-to-day business, how they, I guess, give the receipts to their customers. It's always crucial to know that.
It's like your CRM or your ERP for auto.
Exactly.
Like that's what I did in my brain. Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. All right. Well, let's see the next one. AAA. I got AAA.
I'm like, all right, Simon, like alcohol anonymous. Like,
So many of you might actually know this one.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna take a guess. Automotive. Always automotive assurance.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
automated automotive acquisition.
Application.
Yeah, so AAA, many of you might have it. It stands for Automobile Association of America. And it's not only roadside assistance like many of the consumers know, but actually auto repair shops can be certified and dealerships can be certified to sell their cars through AAA. So that's always good to know going into either a dealership because their cars are on another platform to specific customers, and also in repair shops. It's a pretty nationwide certification that a lot of shops have. It means that they're basically the highest quality.
Huh. No. Yeah, I never saw it from their point of view. It's almost like lead gen for them, isn't it? Like AAA sends them somebody who's stranded and they're picking up a client.
Been there.
Yeah. Making it up. I'm
I was way off.
What's the next one?
Oh, did we only have two, or did we miss a third?
The third one was ASE.
ASE.
America's Funniest Videos.
Yeah.
There we go.
Did you say AFV or ASE?
No. ASE.
Auto sensory exhaust systems.
Like that.
That was a good guess.
Automotive service, something maybe? It's got to be
Excellent.
something close.
There you go, Peter.
What did you say,
So
Peter?
Automotive service expectations. That's my guess.
You guys are close. It stands for Automotive Service Excellence, and it's a certification that technicians in auto repair shops complete. It's basically this whole long certification that most of your higher end repair shops have several ASE certified technicians. And this is important when speaking with shops because you can tell if they have multiple ASE certified techs that they've gone through the training, whereas if you speak to somebody who has 5 or 6 technicians and don't have any ASE certifications, they just kind of learn it as they go. So it gives you kind of a divide on who you're exactly speaking to.
It's going to help me pick a mechanic.
Right?
Yep, exactly. Look for the ASE when you're looking for a mechanic.
Boom.
Yeah, good to know. Awesome. Thank you so much, Elijah. That was awesome. And thank you, Logan, for your fantastic guesses.
That was fun. All right.
Oh,
Yeah, let's just, you want to roll through finance and healthcare and just do them now. And then we can finish up with any roadblocks or challenges really quickly and tips and answer some questions.
PFD, personal flotation device. I just had to. What is it really?
Elijah, Logan, any guesses?
Product finance department.
Ooh,
I
that's a
feel
good.
like you cheated. I feel like you knew.
Close, but no cigar. It's preferred stock. It's preferred stock. So pretty much what that means is this stock is a little bit higher priority than like a common stock. There's two stocks that break down your preferred and common stock. Preferred stockholders typically have a higher claim to dividends and asset distribution than the common stockholders usually do. And these acronyms, the next two I have as well, you have to speak in this lingo to these people in this jargon, because they're, especially with Wall Street and, calling hedge funds and, day traders all day. It's something to where time is money. And if you're on the phone with them and you're not bringing value to them and they don't know, if they don't feel like the verbiage or, understand the industry, that's the first click the phone, you hear a dial tone. So it's one of those things where you got to make sure that, you can be as concise as possible. And especially the way that these, day traders or these, quantitative analysis or whoever the actual point of contact is, they use like Bloomberg and certain chats to where, they have literally 10 words and that could be a full paragraph of what you and I might say, you know what I mean? So they pretty much, like you guys mentioned before, the meat and potatoes is right there. There's no extra filling or additive there.
I gotta tell you, when
Go
you
ahead.
were saying that, man, I was like, this is like Spanish to me, man.
Yeah.
I was rolling back in my head. I'm like, that sounds great.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
accent. That's just what I was thinking.
I love it.
Oh, we should know what IPO stands for.
Initial public offering. I think I know that one. Is that
Yeah.
right?
I wasn't gonna say it, but yes, you nailed it. I'm impressed. Well done. Yeah, so that pretty much just refers to the process of offering shares, of a private corporation to the public. So it's just transitioning from private to public. And now instead of just, private shareholders or angel investors, now the public is able to actually invest in that. And that, essentially it gives them a little bit more of an offering, essentially, allows that public to have some sort of, participation and invest in it and have a little bit more say, which you could have never had when it was, before it was, before it was an IPO, essentially.
Okay, certified medical professional. Probably not so much for this, huh? I go to healthcare, see?
Go for it.
Elijah, come
I was going to say certified marketing professional, but
I was going to say
got
certified
33%
money
right.
professional.
Oh,
Current market price.
professional.
Yeah, you got market in it, that counts. Yeah, so current market price. So pretty much what that means is the current market price of the most recent selling price of that stock. So I mean, whatever date that it sold at, you know how stocks, the volatility is incredible and always moving, especially if you're day trading. It's always moving up or it's always moving down. So that, when you have the CMP, you pretty much, hey, this is the CMP at this, this date of this stock, at this price, and it's going to be, the contingency is really on the time that price, got locked in at. So the CMP could be different now as it would be at the end of this call, for instance, if that makes sense. So it's always something that's changing. It's definitely a lot of volatility. And with stocks, I mean, the bidding price, the asking price, the bidding price, and it kind of falls between that, usually the CMP.
There you go.
Right? Look at that. Thank you, Peter. All right, Logan.
Of course.
So good.
Okay.
Let's
We'll start off here with COA.
Cost of acquisition.
No, think more healthcare.
code of, not ethics. Cost of something, no?
Close.
Care?
It's
Here.
what was that, Pete?
Maybe care of, I don't know. I feel like care could be in some sort of healthcare or something. I don't know. I'm digging here. I'm reaching.
It's certificate of assurance.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of cross industry, but when it comes to the healthcare side, right, this is a written and signed list of performance requirements and conditions. So again, that's common in some other industries, but specifically in healthcare when it comes to supplements or services or things of that nature. If we're speaking on behalf of a client that's verified and talks about its quality and why it needs to be, evaluated, right? We definitely need to have that knowledge of evaluation and accreditation. So there are multiple COAs that are pretty common, like the good manufacturing practice or quality assurance or verifying things as organic and whatnot. Again, that's something that needs to be a little bit understood when it comes to going into those healthcare conversations. Cool. Number 2, PBM.
Peanut butter mastery.
Oh, I wish I would have that one in a heartbeat. I'd definitely be certified.
Logan, the first company I ever worked for was a PBM, if you can actually believe that. I saw that. I was like, I got one. What is it?
It is a hold on. Oh my gosh. I literally have it in front of me here. It's a pharmacy benefit manager. So in the U.S., a pharmacy benefit manager, PBM, is a third-party admin of prescription drug programs for commercial health plans and self-insured employers, Medicare, and things like that. The reason why it's important to know this is because that's part of the wheel, or rather, it's part of the cog of the great wheel of healthcare, right? It's something that the average Joe might not know, but when it comes to working on behalf of clients that are specifically addressing things like reducing internal healthcare costs, it's important to understand that value and understand how things are working. So when you're getting to those points in the conversation, right, I'm able to address, well, here's how we, address price increases for self-insured employers when it comes to PBMs and things of that nature. So definitely something learned along the way when it comes to healthcare knowledge. So that's PBM.
Awesome. The next one, this was my MLR. This is what I was in, it was in every part of my life for the last 20 years. Any guesses? No one?
Nobody.
Medical.
Story.
Yes, keep going.
I ran out of steam.
Medical something response? I don't know. Reaching.
Ooh. This was the most challenging problem I ever had to work with throughout my career, which is medical, legal, and regulatory.
Ooh.
So anything that you do when you work in healthcare and pharmaceuticals has to be approved. Any content, anything you see put out by a pharmaceutical company has to go through medical, legal, and regulatory review before you see it. There's a lot of red lines that you see. Remember the days when you see a commercial about a drug and it didn't say anything, and then all of a sudden the commercials came out and it was like, if you take this drug, we must tell you that 2% of you might die and your insides might be out and you might have seizures. That's medical regulatory.
The second
Those
teaser.
side effects just scare me.
Yeah,
Yes.
no kidding. Don't ever read about them, ever.
But it helps you for that one small thing, that one headache you got.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, I cannot believe you guys were amazing. I love how you not just knew what it was, but you explained it to the rest of us, and you did it in layman's terms. Like I could tell it's conversational for you. And you know what? I've got some damn good trainers, but I don't know that I could teach that. That just comes with knowledge and background and experience. That was confident.
Yeah, that was really great, guys. And it speaks to exactly, look, we did that to really demonstrate that this works, right? These are 3 incredibly, well, Logan is actually now a manager, but Logan has kind of grown up through healthcare in the company. And it just goes to show, right, that there are nuances for various verticals. And there's all this language and all this out there that you and we have no idea what the heck it means, but look how easy it comes to these guys right when they're talking about it, because it's what they're talking about in their daily life. It's a different and a better conversation than we could probably ever have around it.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun. So we have like
It was.
10 minutes. So should we open up for questions?
We've got one written already. I'll read it to you, Jen, because it's going to be for you. How do you decide when it's time to add a new vertical in which to specialize? Can you do it proactively? Like, is it enough to have 2 or 3 clients in that space to merit a special focus on the team?
Yeah. So, I think about when we get to 3, to me, it's about time to create that vertical. I mean, and I can share with you because, when we first got into this, I had numerous automotive clients. I had numerous marketing services clients, but finance is pretty recent. So we started getting to finance. I started getting this real big understanding of that finance is different. I mean, they operate differently. Their needs are so nuanced. And that was actually, that's part of what led to this too, was having these new finance clients. So that's exactly when we started to put that out there, we started putting job recs out there thinking, okay, we see 2, we have a couple that are coming in the pipeline, and now it gives strategic accounts selling JumpCrew, now it gives them another vertical to call into, because now I can say we've done it for 2. We're seeing success with these 2. They can bring more in. You know, 1's a test, 2 you go, oh, okay, I'm starting to see your vertical.
Right, but it's got to be a percentage, right? Because everybody has a different number of clients, and I know that that's one of the challenges, right? When I'm dealing with hundreds of thousands of accounts, can I truly verticalize and keep it straight? Is it like, say it's like 10%, then you start looking at specializing? But I love the fact you took it to the next level. So it's 10%, I'm going to start to specialize, but now I'm actually going to go hunt in that area as well. That's cool.
Absolutely.
What other questions are out?
At each of my manage roughly around 5 or 6 clients. So that number, that 3 allows for them to get their feet wet, get rolling in it, and then give them still that chance, because we know more will be coming in.
Yeah, that's good. Smart. I think that might be our only question that's come in so far. We'll give everybody 1 more minute if they want to type one in.
Otherwise, it means we just nailed it. We got it all. We answered everything.
3 minutes to spare. 3 minutes to spare. So tell us about the download that's available to everybody that you put together from the JumpCrew team.
Yeah. So that download goes to actually those top 5 points that I talked about earlier, which are the benefits of verticalizing the teams. It goes into a little more detail in each of those areas, just giving the reasons, kind of the why behind why does it help with your hiring? Why, why industry knowledge helps with create connections. So it goes into each one of those areas, gives you a little insight and information, and hopefully will help you all if you're looking to verticalize your teams.
Nice. And I've done the same. Top 5 skills, like the first base skills that you want to start, whether you're pulling in a vertical team or even a basic new hire, right? You want to start with these sales skills, and a little bit of information and some goals and objectives on each one, so you can start that with your team.
Awesome.
Boom. 1 minute to spare.
Look at that. Lauren, it's always a pleasure, honestly.
Fun.
It's so nice to chat with you. This was really fun. Thanks to our panelists too, who joined us and played that fun game and gave us some insight into what it really means and how beneficial it is. So this was a ball. I hope we get to do it again soon. And thanks to everyone who attended.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Feel free to reach out if you've got additional questions that we didn't get to here. And a big shout out to Laval and Jesse and Amy and the background crew who put it together.
Cheers to everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.